Can Joe Burrow and the Bengals go 2-0 in 2021? Hi again, everyone. I'm James Rapien with allbengals.com and Cincinnati Bengals Talk here at Paul Brown Stadium on a Friday, where the Bengals just a couple of days away from going to Chicago, hitting the road for the first time this season. And the question looms, will they be able to get it done against Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, and the Chicago Bears? If so, Zac Taylor would have his second road win since becoming head coach of the Bengals in 2019. The Bengals beat Houston in Houston at the end of last season. Can they do it again, this time winning on the road against the Bears? That's the question. And to me, it's going to come down to a few things this week. The first one, as always, we'll probably say this over and over and over and over again. Can they keep number 9 upright, keeping Joe Burrow upright? Much easier said than done when you got Khalil Mack on the other side, Akiem Hicks on the other side. First, let's start with Mack. Mack is a game changer, all-pro pass rusher. And to me, Riley Reiff going to have his hands full with Mack, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if Zac Taylor doesn't give help to Reiff in trying to slow down Mack in that pass rush off the edge. You could see CJ Uzomah, Drew Sample, some chipping, some doubling, whatever you need to do to slow him down. Just giving Burrow an extra extra second, certainly key on Sunday. On the flip side, in the middle of this offensive line is Trey Hopkins, and he gave up a couple of sacks last week. You can check out his news conference at Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube. And the thing with Hopkins, yeah, he's coming back from a torn ACL. It's not shocking to see that what the Vikings did. They put a defensive tackle right on top of him, and they said, all right, beat us. So that's what I expect a lot this week. Akiem Hicks and Trey Hopkins, they're going to go at it. And if you're the Bengals, you're going to want to try to find a way to just slow down Hicks and make sure he doesn't wreck the game. And speaking of wrecking the game, that's what B.J. Hill, Larry Ogunjobi, and DJ Reader, the interior of the Bengals defensive line, did last week against Minnesota. They're going to try to do the same thing again this week, and I think they're going to have an opportunity to do so against a weak Bears offensive line. As much concern as there has been about this Bengals offensive line over the past 9, 10, 11 months, years, if you want to go that far, I think this Bears offensive line, at least on paper, is a bit worse. So if you get pressure on Andy Dalton, as we saw for 9 years in the stadium behind me, he folds, he makes mistakes, he throws it away, he gets uncomfortable. Most quarterbacks do. That's something the Bengals have to do to get a win on Sunday. And the big difference between the two, because you got two good pass rushers on the Bears side. Well, if you keep Burrow upright, this wide receiver core should be able to, and I say should be able to get open against this Bears defense and this Bears secondary. We'll see if it happens. But to me, a Jamar Chase, a T. Higgins, obviously Tyler Boyd, they are going to be able to have their way with this Bears secondary. And that's certainly something I would take into account when predicting this game. The line started at 3. The Bears favored by 3. It's gone down to around -1, according to Sports Illustrated Sportsbook, sisportsbook.com. And honestly, to me, it doesn't matter, because if the Bengals are going to be the team that a lot of people think they could be, at least a lot of people in Cincinnati, maybe not nationally, but in Cincinnati, a winning team, a team that maybe contends for a playoff spot and is a problem in the AFC North in a tough division, they have to win Sunday. This is a must-win, and that's what I'm calling it. This is a must-win for Zac Taylor. This is a must-win for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Not because if they go 1-1, all hell is going to freeze over, or the world is going to go end. No, that's not it. But because if they're going to be the team that some people think they can be, mainly the people in the building behind me, then they should beat the Chicago Bears, who, at least on paper, are not as good as the Minnesota Vikings, a team you took down last week. Now, I do think that there are going to be some, not jitters, but mistakes. The Bengals were pretty mistake-free last week. I don't think that's going to happen this week on the road, their first time in front of a packed house in quite some time at Soldier Field. So look for some penalties early. Wouldn't be surprised if you get a false start, a hold, maybe a DPI here or there. And then also, I expect a turnover or two. They're not going to be flawless. And that's why I have this game closer than it sounds. Because to me, Tyler Boyd is going to feast. He's going to have a huge game. Wouldn't be shocked if he goes for 10-plus receptions. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins could be right behind him. Joe Mixon could play well. That's not Ben Baby honking this time. But, hey, we have another honk. Plus, I just think that three-headed monster, and let's just say they slow down those guys. Well, what about CJ Uzomah? What about just getting Mixon involved in the ground game? And one other storyline before I give you my prediction. Will they continue to keep Joe under 30 throws? I mean, my man Burrow threw 27 times last week with an extra quarter, essentially, of football. I don't think so. I think the Brian Callahan and Zach Taylor will look at this game and they're going to say, all right, how are we going to be able to win this game? What gives us the best chance? The best chance, putting the ball in Nine's hands, keeping him upright, and let him distribute it to his playmakers. And that's what he's going to do. And the Bengals, despite a couple mistakes where it could be a blowout, are going to get the win on the road, improve to 2-0. I have the Bengals 27, the Bears 23. Andy Dalton plays relatively well. Justin Fields, that's the wild card. That's what scares me. Will they bring him in? Will they take some downfield shots? If so, hard to prepare for a guy you haven't seen much of in the NFL. So that's the wild card. I think that, along with being on the road, it's going to make this a close game, but I'm rolling with the Bengals. As always, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and check out Cincinnati Bengals Talk and allbengals.com for the best pre- and post-game coverage of the Bengals Week 2 matchup against the Bears. Until next time, I'm James Rapien from Paul Brown Stadium.